Hello everyone, I'm Xiao Gang. Okay, in this lesson, we'll talk about multi-wave. Actually, multi-wave and single wave are mostly the same, but there are some details to pay attention to. Because our single wave can only be onto one, but multi-wave is onto many. Since it's a one-to-many situation, you definitely can't have a return value, because you still don't know who to return it to. Also, it doesn't support feedback to blueprint. Before we operate, we still need to write a new class. So how do we do it? Right here, look, bikini. Then we just type it directly. Nodecast, we just give it a parameter. No, if there are multiple parameters, there will be an S. See, it can hold up to 8 parameters. Very powerful. Then here, the declaration method is still the same, starting with F. Then we give it a mute a delegate. That is our multi-wave. Then we give it an F stream, just pass a single word. Of course, you can pass many of these. Specifically, you can write it according to your own needs. Okay. Now we already have a multi-wave. Then we put this instance up there. And as for the name, we will call it mute a delegate. Okay. Then we also need an actor. Then this is our multi-instance management actor. Then we let it bind to the actor to execute. So we just write one here as well. Then for our name, we call it mute. Mute X, ECUT. It acts as an executor in the scene. Yes. We just need to override BeginPlay. Okay, then we need to add another method here. For this method, we make it public. This method has no return value. This is our function signature, and we call it work. And it takes a string parameter. As for the specific work, it will be defined by everyone, okay? Then we will implement them here. This is what I wrote earlier. Delete it. Okay. Then we place it in this position. Okay. Then we need to copy the header file. The header file from our resource library here. Then we still need to reinitialize the root node. Otherwise, there might be a slight issue later. We'll ignore this mute. Okay, let's copy this piece of code here again. Well, actually, here we need to delete all of these. Then we convert it into our multi-wave actor. Remember to pass it in, and for the name, we'll change it to mute. Okay, that's it. Then through it, we bind our 它扣以 European. Then we add it here. Note, this is add. You will see, right? Look, these are the methods it provides. Let me zoom in a bit so you can see these methods. This way, you can see them more clearly. You can see here, it's adding code, and then this broadcast. Broadcast means we are executing it. And then there are some canary here, and whether an object is bound or not. Here, we will add new object. Obviously, we have released the position here. It should be done in BeginPlay, yes. And then here, we give this function to it. Note that the address of operator cannot be forgotten. So in fact, we have bounded like this, and it can also be loaded if it can be loaded. Actually, we can here simply give a hard reference. Sensor health equals 100. But you can also write pointers and such. You can see the engine uses them in many places. See, look at this position, right? Let's scroll down a bit more. Then look at this place. It's loaded now, right? Here, you can see its function signature is these two. Okay, let's go back to our place. If we give it a heal, we need to overload our function signature. Then here we give it this. Okay, we changed this part. We need to change this part too. Okay, so let me expand a bit more here for everyone. How should we expand it? Because there are multiple mute extras in our scene. Have we learned about this GUID thing in previous chapters? So here we will give you a brief expansion. Okay, we can actually just write it like this because we don't need the parameterized constructor either. So just ignore it. We can turn off tick. We don't need this tick. Then here we write and attach a GUID. Of course, as for this GUID, we can make it protected. We can make it public. We can make it public. Then here fGUID. It should be called myActorID. Then we set it equal to an empty value. This is fine. Actually, if you don't say this, it's also an empty slot. So there's no need to write this. Then, when it is being constructed, I'll have it go somewhere to get a new ID. This way, it's a WeChat ID, so we know which object it is. Then we can actually expose it to Blueprint, but it doesn't seem necessary. We'll have it print this log for now, to indicate that we have executed our work. Okay, here we still give it a world. High-level log for 保龄店. Then here, we might need to write a bit more. Let's first get an ID. So the ID is S. Then we give it an int star. TR. That is the string we passed in. Then we put this heels into it. This is an int type. Finally, we put all these parameters in, obviously. A type conversion is needed here. We can just let it to stream. Yes, so it will convert itself into D. On this side, we need to add a new one, like this. Then we add another one. This way it's fine. There might be some confusion here. Would adding a new one, like this, cause a problem? No, it won't, because of the application of this signal. Due to the priority of its operation, it will definitely to stream first, and then convert this stream into this new one. So there is no problem here. So actually this part is our starting point. We have already set up the binding. It can be executed. So before we proceed, actually here we write a test method. This is the test method we use. It's a bit difficult to write here. We'll just call it directly. Go to this place. Go to our single package location. We'll just assign a random call here. Right here. We'll call it call simple mute. Now we create its implementation. Then we can do some judgments here. For example, example bound. Here you can see it is right here. That is, whether some functions are bound here. If it is a tool, it is bound. If not, it means it is not bound. There is also an IsBoundToObject here. Let's take a look at the comments inside. This place is. That is, given this user object, whether some functions are bound to it. If so, then it is. If not, then it is not. Actually, it is doing a traversal query kind of work. If you want to know how to use it specifically, just look at the engine. See right? Look at this place in the engine. That's how it's used, okay. So for our side, we don't need to make it so complicated for now. We'll just let it execute direct. Broadcast. Okay, but you can see. Here it means calling all bound ones, and then excluding some that have already passed. Then here we directly pass in a txt. This is a simple mute. Okay, now let's do a simple test. Okay, it has an error here, right? Then let's see what the error is. Obviously, it's when we are in the live cycle. Save it to a semicolon because you'll notice there's a semicolon in the class name. Just add it in. It should be fine now. Now let's launch it. Okay, we've arrived at the new level we created. We haven't done any work yet, still the same approach. Then we find our day. The two classes we just wrote, well, this manager class doesn't have trace phone yet. You'll notice it can't be dragged at all. That's fine. Next, we need to take our mute actor and place it inside. It might not be very good right now. For this mute actor, we probably missed the its root node. So let's go ahead and improve it. Add the root node back in. We just need to place it here. Okay, what we need to note is we do this in the constructor. At the same time, there is one point to be aware of. We are not setting the location here. We use GUIDs to distinguish how many actual actors there are in the scene. Okay, let's go back to our map. You can see, actually when you look at it now, it's actually not very convenient. We can add one for it. Another thing, let's place 3 first, then we'll just check the log. Then here we find our proxy. Okay, you can add a mesh if it looks uncomfortable to you, but I think it shouldn't matter much. Then here we get the reference to this mute in our scene. We'll directly call this simple mute method. Okay, there's a problem here, right? Let's see what the problem is. UDebug will not improve proven for more. Okay, there are some issues here. Then let's check again. This issue might be maybe it's because we just modified the C++ class. We might need to delete the items inside this world and try again. Okay, let's delete these first. We may demodify this tree just now. Let's save here. It should run without any issue. Then here, drag it in. Let's just drag 3 in randomly. Then let's check our level blueprint to see if there is any code written. Our code is still there. Let's launch it now. It still reported an error. Look at this call stack. It should be right here. Obviously, you can see our error. This is a mistake that shouldn't have been made. This thing of ours should be done in the constructor. So this is a relatively serious error. Because we can use this call stack method. This is a simple debugging technique. When you study the engine source code, you can use this debugging call stack method, but you must download the debug symbols. Otherwise, you might not be able to break into the engine source code. Okay, now press E. You will find that in our scene, 3 AQ actors have already executed this method. Their ideas are all different. Of course, we can set their positions or have them execute complex logic operations. This is a simple one-to-many relationship. Alright, we will stop here for this session. Thank you all.